Hello, everybody, and welcome to Smut. We're having a sweater weather day and just loving it. I bet yours is thrifted too.
Not this one, no.
Oh, fine. Oh, fine.
I was gonna say this is like maybe one of 10 things that I have not thrifted in my entire wardrobe.
Right? I love that. And I'm just bringing that up because of our topic today, which I'll get to after I just reintroduce us. Of course, I'm Emily, your hostess. And this is Kellyanne, our compassion creatrix, who's our series guest here on Smut, and that is Stars, Magic, and Underworld Talk. And today we're talking about our favorite. No, I mean, not really. We love everyone, but we're talking about Gen Z.
We're talking
The
about Gen Z, the generation that grew up with the internet and that clearly loves astrology.
more than democracy. Just
More
my
than
favorite fun
democracy.
fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have they seen Democracy? I'm not sure. But, anyways, just breezing right by that for now. We're going to start, as we always do, with our Moonifesting report. And this is kind of a big one. So, attention, friends. We've got a lunar eclipse coming up. And that's going to be on September 7th. And I know, right? Exciting. So when this happens, it's going to be in Pisces too, the middle decan of Pisces. And that translates in tarot to the Nine of Cups, the wish fulfillment area. And as per usual, Kellyanne's going to take us on a little tarot journey right now. So if you're watching on video, you get to look. And if you're driving and listening, don't look.
Don't look. Drive safely. Drive safely, listen carefully. So, as Emily said, we have the Nine of Cups, which is representing our lunar eclipse in Pisces. And the first card that we have from Mood Tarot is the Turn Down for What card. In traditional tarot, it is the guy with the little floofy hat sitting in front of a table that is just lined with cups. We've got the 9 cups lined up in a row together. And he's just sitting there, arms crossed, looking so proud of himself. And I feel like when I go between the Mood Tarot and Voyager Tarot, which is more collage based, I tend to find very different vibes. But this one, I feel like it's
Wow.
got similar vibes in that there's this sort of satisfaction, there's this sort of fulfillment, wish fulfillment energy, and like sense of pride. I'm really for this particular moment, I'm really picking up on these pearls that are here. They're not blueberries, they're not stones, they're pearls. And if you know anything about pearls, you have to dive to the bottom of the ocean. You've got to pick up what are they growing? Clams?
Oysters.
Oysters. Okay. And I was like, I think clams is wrong as soon as it came out. Pick up them oysters, crack them open, see if they've got a pearl in there. So it takes a lot of effort to find even just one pearl amongst lots and lots of oysters, unless you're farming, and then you can go, and there are other methods, with human intervention and all of that. Genetically modified organisms are what we're talking about here. But to bring it back, it takes work. It takes work to crack open a lot of opportunities to find the pearl in them. So it really feels like with all of the sort of fulfillment and satisfaction and like you got the abundance that you were looking for, but you had to kind of work for it, and now you get to sit on your laurels and rest on your laurels and say, hey, I'm proud of myself, look at how far I've come. That's the energy that we're going for here. And this is very like clean and simple to me. This is like, take stock of and embody pride in all of the work that you've put in to get out of it the lessons that you have, all of the gems, all of the abundance, and focus more on the fulfillment part and focus more on the cup being half full than all the hard work it took or all the things that went wrong or the other portion of the cup being half empty. Don't focus on those. Focus on the fullness. That's what we're shooting for with this Pisces lunar eclipse.
I love that translation. Yes. And I feel called to just remind us all where pearls come from and where emotional work comes from, because there is like a hidden element here of I had to go through some hard shit. I had to get a grain of sand in my soft little oyster body, and then I had to take the time and use some of my resources to build that up with the pearl and create the pearl. And so when I see the Nine of Cups, this man sitting in front of all of his cups, and there is something kind of hidden. There's like a little bit of a veiled curtain wizard backdrop happening here. It's like, yeah, okay, you see the fruit of my emotional labor, but you do not see what I had to go through internally to get there. You didn't see how much that sand really irritated my soft mollusk body before it was a pearl.
You don't know how much that grain of sand bothered me before I alchemically smoothed it out and turned it into something shiny and valuable.
Yes. And that is what I'm seeing the message is here. It's really like letting our ego take the back seat. And if you are a spiritual business person or you're someone who's sharing about your spiritual journey, now is the time during this lunar eclipse to share with people like what that grain of sand really was for you. What was the work? What's the thing that you are like, maybe even feel a little cringy about sharing? You think it might tarnish your spiritual guru reputation to share it, and let that out of the closet, because there are other people dealing with that stuff. And especially if you already have the fruit of the emotional labor, what do you really have to lose? It's not incubating anymore. The pearl has been made. You've been shucked.
You been shucked. It's been shucked. Okay. The cat's out of the bag. The pearl's out of the oyster, okay? It ain't going back in.
Like petition to change the cat out of the bag to the pearls out of the oyster for all time.
For all time. Here we go. You heard it here first, folks.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, that's the energy. And because it's also a lunar eclipse, this is going to be more of an emotional journey than it is going to be like a big out in the open journey that you have to share. So just work with that how you want to. I have in my notes like, wear your scarlet A, honey. Just let yourself be seen through your evolution. I know. Embarrassing. Scary.
But be proud. Be proud of the weird wonderfulness that you are and that you have become, because pearls aren't like these perfectly cylindrical things either. They're
Mm-hmm.
they're not they're shaped by nature. They're shaped by God. They're weird, they're lumpy, they're small, they're big, they're shiny, they're a little, like as I'm looking at all of them, I'm like, dang, they're so different. Every single one of them is so different. And some of them aren't even like that shiny or look like the pearls that we know of them. They're like black pearls. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it, the the uniqueness of your own experience gets to be the thing that you wear loudly and proudly. It doesn't have to be something that other people think that you should be proud of. You might have to like pull out that special black pearl and be like, this is the thing I'm choosing to be the most openly proud of right now, because I know that like there's a darkness in somebody else, there's like a black pearl in somebody else that they are unwilling to admit that served them or saved them or gave them that specialness and that uniqueness factor that they now get to carry around and like have some confidence, quiet confidence in. But if you don't feel like you can share
Yeah.
it, then there's you're missing some level of connection with other people. And I think Pisces is, whenever the moon is in Pisces, it's like, well, we're connecting to everybody and everything. So whatever it is that you
Right.
have to bring, share it with the whole class.
Yeah. Yeah. Let the spiritual ego just like take a deep breath and chill and remember your humanity, especially if you have some prominent Pisces placements. Like if this is your sun, this might be like extra tender for you. Yeah. And then, oh, the cat is just, she's
Catton.
been shucked. She's all over right now. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Perfect. My God. And my last bit on this lunar eclipse in Pisces, September 7th, is that whatever you're seeing, and if you're able to like sit there and really look at all of the cups and all of the pearls that you have accumulated, this can be the opening to a whole new chapter for you where you really are trusting, like, I've done this work. This work is complete. I'm no longer needing to wish for all of this. It's already here. Now, what do I want to grow from this space? And I can't help but look at the Mai Tai on the Voyager card. It's just like front and center with a hibiscus in it. I'm like, is that a Mai Tai? And it makes me think about being on vacation, right? Like laying back by the pool, sipping on your virgin or not virgin Mai Tai, no judgment, and just getting to enjoy being past the finish line for a lot of the hard stuff.
Yeah, allowing yourself to feel fulfilled, allowing yourself to feel full and complete.
Mm-hmm.
Not
What up?
always a glass being filled. Sometimes you are just
Yeah.
a glass full and you get to just revel in that.
Beautiful. All right, y'all. Have fun with it. It's coming. It's coming.
I mean, by the time you hear this, it's here, so take it.
Right. Play. Cool. I am complete with our Moonifesting chapter. Shall we head into the newsroom and start chatting about our topic today, generational astrology of Gen Z?
Let's do it.
Man, yes. And I have to say, like, I love Gen Z. I really do. I I'm remembering this moment. I was like out at a karaoke night in the college town I live in, and I'm wearing my big fur leopard coat and just like being weird, fabulous auntie energy, sober up in the club. And this young woman comes up to me and she's like, "Oh my God, I love your coat. Girl, where did you get that?" And immediately stops, clutches her pearls, and says, I'm sorry, I just assumed your pronouns. What are your, and I was like, oh my God, I fucking love Gen Z. You guys are just like on it. And it's so sweet and considerate. Oh,
Yeah, it's like a generation that, I think every generation does this to the next generation, is like, oh, all of our hopes and dreams are on you. You're going to fix it. You've got this. And as a millennial, I look at Gen Z and I go, oh, y'all have so many more things figured out than our generation,
mm-hmm.
and our generation is better than the last. And yet, there are so many things that, when I encounter my own people out in the wild, sometimes I'm like, oh, we're still doing that, huh? Like, we're still making gay jokes and racist jokes and sexist jokes, and we're trying to phase them out. Like, you can sense that we're trying to phase them out. But Gen Z is like, uh not like fully evolved and fully past it, but to the point where they're so uh embodied in randomness, and like the concept of deconceptualization, that they're like, I'm happy to put you in whatever category you want to be in, and you already exist in. I'm just meeting you where we're at. I'm not going to all
Yes.
the way over there. You're not coming all the way over here. We're right here. We're present. Gen Z is so present, and yet, like, grew up with technology. They're World Wide Web internet natives, and have been,
Mm-hmm.
have had access to technology since birth. So yeah, there's this dichotomy and paradox of being fully present and being more present than any other generation, and also having, which we'll talk about later, having an online presence that, maybe allows for like physical, in real life presence to be so so spot on, so highly concentrated. Like, I wonder about that.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole avatar concept as a way to embody. There's something there.
Right, like building an online brand, building an online avatar, building a version of yourself that other people get to believe is you. I
Right.
wonder. I wonder. I have a lot of
And it is
questions
a
for
part
Gen
of
Z.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And as a version of you, it's kind of like, with Dungeons and Dragons, which I think, Gen Z is also getting way into, because it's having such a resurgence right now. I think with Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop role playing games, you get to embody an avatar. You get to step into the life of a version of yourself, which is what I believe we're always doing when we were playing D&D, and we pick a character and their traits and everything. We're picking a version of ourselves that we would like to live as, and we would like to embody. So yeah, there's this quality of present not present that I see within Gen
Mm-hmm.
Z. That's very interesting.
Yes. And we're going to get all the way into this, the psychological astrology, but let's like start at the top of like what is Gen Z. So the mixed sources, right? 1997 to 2012, or 1996 to 2012, I think is the widest gap that we'll look at. And then some people will say, because of the astrology, that might actually just be until 2009 when we have some planetary transits that shift. But for most of our Gen Zers, or for many of our Gen Zers, we have Pluto in Sagittarius and Capricorn. And that's our, of course, our unconscious, our subconscious. And man, like, I'm thinking about specifically in Sagittarius and Capricorn, we have cultural appropriation and colonization. And Gen Z has really looked at that and been like, shit, we need to take responsibility for this. Like, we need to actually flip this paradigm on its head. I can see that these things are not working for us.
Wait, can you say more? In Sagittarius and Capricorn
Yes. Yeah.
is what
So,
the stories of colonization, and I forget the other one that you said.
yeah. And
Say more.
like cultural appropriation. So
Cultural
in
appropriation. Okay, thank you.
Sagittarius specifically, when it's in its low vibe, is a raider. So think like I'm rewatching Game of Thrones, Dothraki, like come into the village, pillage, plunder, steal the medicine people, learn their ways, take it on as your own. It's like a bunch of white people going to the Amazon and doing ayahuasca. That's Sagittarius raider energy
Culture
in its low
vulture
vibe. Totally.
in its low
Exactly.
vibe. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In its high vibe, it is learning from all of these cultures and appropriately sharing the knowledge and the information via those indigenous channels. Do we see the difference, everyone? Yeah. So, not taking it as our own and becoming white people shamans, but sharing, okay, there are other ways of doing things. Western medicine is not everything.
Right. And if Sagittarius is a warrior of sorts who can go in and raid,
Mm-hmm.
they can
Mm-hmm.
also encounter a culture that's different from theirs and they can endeavor to protect it.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
warriors do.
Right. And think about the centaur, the archetype of the centaur, which is Sagittarius. They were medicine people, they were like the doctors in mythology. And they're also fierce warrior doctors. Cool. That's like, I don't know. I don't know if we have archetypes like that in our modern day era, but I kind of love the combination. They were also known for being a rowdy bunch of debaucherous criminals. So there were some that became doctors, and there were some that became debauchers.
They were the best of us and they were the worst of us.
Exactly. And that's really what you see happening. Like, I'm thinking just especially of indigenous medicines, the way that they're being used for debauchery or actual medicine. And that is Sagittarius. So when I see that Gen Z has really come out and been like, we need to talk about diversity and inclusion and what it actually means to be anti racist, and how do we show up for and protect Indigenous people groups and their medicine practices and their land. How can we have reparation happening? Like, these are all super Sagittarian and Capricorn themes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Kind of
very
cool.
good.
And it's like, it's making the unconscious conscious. That's what Pluto does. So, Gen Z speaking out about all of these issues has caused our whole collective to make their unconscious conscious. and for there to be like some big political shifts. Like it kind of feels more like boilings right now because nothing has really exactly changed in the most perfect ways, but like there's unrest and there are more people being radicalized. I'm like, is it radical to just like be kind and not be a thieving asshole? Is it?
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
Fuck. I know. Yeah. And looking at Capricorn, okay, so Capricorn is uh the hag is the low vibe archetype. So this is Jungian, by the way. And you can like find this information anywhere online and look at a little zodiac wheel and it says like the hag uh and or the sage is Capricorn.
Carl Jung designated some very
Yeah.
basic archetypes to, uh, the astrological placements. And then if you want to get even deeper into archetypes, you can check out the work of Caroline Myss, Myss, who expanded on the archetypes. But the hag slash crone is one of the
Yes.
archetypes that Carl Jung, yeah. So um, we've got, okay, you said Capricorn is represented with the hag in its low vibe.
Yeah. So it's really like the hoarder, which is a hard word for me to say without a Boston accent. So let me just let it out. The hoarder.
The hoarder.
Yeah. Hoarding land, hoarding information, hoarding resources. Does that remind you of anyone? You know, billionaires to start.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited. I know that we're getting into like overall astrology now, but as you're saying these things, I'm thinking of the period between 96 and 2012, when all of these when the planets that we're talking about were in these signs. And I'm just like, oh yeah, the financial crisis of 2008, where there was so much hoarding of housing resources that, our housing bubble burst, or, housing industry collapsed. And yeah, I'm excited to go through like the timeline a little bit. But it's really interesting, yeah, to hear that. How is Capricorn related to the hag in that way?
Yeah, so I mean, really, just the hoarding of resources and the taking of what is not theirs for their own. So it has it does have crossover with Sagittarius, of course, because they're next to each other, right? And
The
there's like,
neighbors.
yeah, I think where Sagittarius is more about just, it's sort of like, yeah, raider, like piratey, like snatching. I'm just snatching it because I wants it. Capricorn is like, I'm gonna make money off this. I'm gonna build an empire off of this. Like, I'm gonna hoard all of these resources so that no one else can have them. Instead of being in the wise old crone archetype that Capricorn can be, that's like, I see the future of the civilization that we could have. Here's how we can build it.
Mm,
Instead of, I'm going to build my future for me and my people and my family only.
right. Yeah, we've got like conquistador energy, where it's like, yeah,
Totally.
this is all mine, and it's a pile of gold, and I'm gonna sit on it and build a throne out of it, and it's for me, and it's mine, and I found it.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. That's total. Like, I'm going to circle back to Moonifesting right now because that's also the energy of the Nine of Cups, where you're like, I've earned all of this emotional intelligence, but I'm not going to tell you how I got here because it's tender and vulnerable. Like, fuck you. Don't.
Right, or like there's a sort of like emotional intelligence gatekeeping that people will do, which
Yes.
is people need to learn from their own mistakes. And I learned a lot from the mistakes that my brother made just watching him. I learned a lot from the mistakes that other people in my life have made just from them telling me this is what happened to me in this situation, or this is what happened to I haven't sliced into my hand while cutting avocado because my mom told me years ago about Rosie O'Donnell having sliced her hand and now it doesn't function the same. I learned from Rosie O'Donnell's mistake, okay? But that's because the story was shared. That's because the emotional intelligence, was shared, was passed along of like, here is something, that might be stressful or anxious for you when you are pursuing this particular dream, when you're pursuing this particular goal. And here's what I did about that. Here's how
Yeah.
I got there, and I got to the other side with hashtag no regrets. And if it's not shared, what is it for? Who is it for? Like, you're not going to take
Yeah.
it with you into the afterlife.
Exactly. I'm That's making me think about like hoarding financial literacy and the resurgence that we've had because people realized with the boom of the tech world and having Bitcoin and all of this stuff available, like, wait, I can learn this. Like, this isn't just for men. This isn't just for old white rich men who have generational wealth. It's for me too. If he can learn it, I can learn it.
A- Accompanied by the realization that I was educated about so many things, and yet and like, we've taken from so many different cultures, and we've, plundered so many resources, and like the amount of abundance that's around me is frankly disgusting. But there is a scarcity here, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really painstakingly obvious to a generation like Gen Z who is going looking, who is going searching for those things. Like,
Dude.
Sagittarius and Capricorn aren't just waiting for things to happen to them, they're going looking for these things.
Yes. Yeah. Both. Both Plutos are not afraid to put in the footwork and go get it done. And
Doing their
really,
own research. We love to see it.
yeah. And I've so seen that in Gen Z and all of the beautiful things that they've created and like the content creation, the entrepreneurship that has come through social media and even influencing, like being able to see influencers influencing for the good of all humanity is wicked cool. That's what it should always be.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when when we had decided the topic was going to be Gen Z too, where I was just like, oh my gosh, their generation is marked by people who will just go and get it done. Like, people
Yeah.
who will just go and do the thing and keep doing it and keep showing up, and not sort of relent to the pressures of like it needing to be the best of something. Like, Gen Zers are creating things that are theirs and that are
Mm.
honest, and that they're trying to convey truth in a way that feels like a resource to other people, so that they'll want to come and grab it, they'll want to come and say, hey, this is mine, like I get to have this. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see. But yeah, what more about the astrology of Gen Z can tell us about them and about their lightest and their highest aspects. Did we get into the the light aspects for Sag?
Capricorn.
We got yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the light aspect of Capricorn is literally upcycling, reusing, like how to rebuild a beautiful civilization. It feels like Renaissance energy to me. And when you see like what's trending right now for Gen Z, like Y2K fashion, that's all thrifted and upcycled. When you see Gen Zers with their cool sewing pages where they're like thrifting quilts from 1970s cabins and making them into pants sweatshirt sets, like brilliant. So brilliant, so beautiful. That's the high vibe Capricorn trait. High vibe Sagittarius trait is when, like we said, you're protecting other people's cultures, or you're helping to like bring your culture back from the dead. I'm thinking about people having singing and rap groups in native languages that like almost nobody speaks anymore, singing in
Right.
Quechua and bringing back the music of their ancestors, bringing back the practices of their ancestors, and protecting it and being like, this isn't for anyone to appropriate. This is for me, my ancestors, and my people to bring it back from the dead, like raise us all back to where we know that we belong.
That's the centaur healer of it all too, is coming in and saying, yeah, I'm going to resuscitate this thing. I see it on the
Yes.
edge of death, and I'm going to put all of like my life force energy into bringing this thing back and sustaining its life force, and kind of like spreading out the responsibility for the extension of its life, so that it is a communal thing and not just like a me carrying it on my back thing.
Yes. Resuscitate is the word. It's perfect. And as we saw in the astrology too for Gen Z, there's a really interesting little bit here on what's the name?
Oh,
The serpent
oh,
bearer.
Ophiuchus.
Ophiuchus. We're doing our best, everyone.
That
Yeah,
13th sign.
exactly. The 13th sign that we alluded to in our last episode, and a transit that happened in 2003 and 2004. So the serpent bearer carries the forbidden knowledge of resurrection. It's said that this healer saw a snake resurrect another snake by using a plant. That's where the mythology is. And then Hades was like, that's not fair. Daddy, fix it. And Zeus killed Iphicles and sent them into the stars.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
right. There's the short and long of that. But really, this is about like being the bearer of hidden knowledge, forbidden knowledge, indigenous knowledge. And
Right.
how do we now protect the serpent bearer, and how can the serpent bearer be protected?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too that on Dark Star Astrology, where I'm looking at a moment in time where Ophiuchus really came into play during the birth of the Gen Z generation. Um, that it says success and evil deeds, sorcery from elites, and fake news, which helps me circle back to this feeling of like uh, cultural sort of anchoring, while the Neptune and Uranus for Gen Z is Aquarius. And
Yeah.
it's funny how there's like a sorcery and evil deeds and like lizard people sort of conspiracy. Like, I feel like Gen Z are the conspiracy theorists that we like need, because
Yeah.
their Aquarian Neptune and Uranus are giving us this sort of, we don't belong here, we're just aliens, we were dropped into a body and a planet that connects us to these cultures, but we don't ultimately need to be connected to anything but each other or anything but source. So there's this, again, like dichotomy of experience with Gen Z, where there's this sense and this feeling of social anxiety and social disruption that we can see mirrored in our government systems and the uh, colonial patriarchal people who are running things. We can see that sort of like mistrust of Earth and mistrust of the earthly experience. We can see that mirrored in the untrustworthiness of the people who are running things. It's very fun
Yeah.
to see like that sorcery thing kind of go both ways, where
Exactly.
Gen Z is like, I'm gonna have to, fight magic with magic.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Hollywood is like, we're gonna use the stem cells of babies to make ourselves young forever. Whatever. Doing crazy shit. Like,
Some vampire shit.
yeah. Yeah. And I'll mention too, like, as we're kind of overarching the astrology, that there's three groupings within all of the signs. We have intrapersonal, we have interpersonal, and then we have transpersonal. All of these signs that Gen Z has in their outer planets are transpersonal, from Sagittarius to Pisces. And that means that they're not just looking out for number one, they're looking out for the many. It's like a real collective mindset. And so will see this theme keep coming up over and over as we talk about Gen Z, that like they are really, their souls chose to be coded to really give a shit about each other and everyone else, and also feel like otherworldly weirdo aliens that are like, I see the bigger picture. Now, human to human, do I need that? It's very weird. Do I have to? Uh
I think it's a connection to, because if you think of like interpersonal, it's from person to person, it's a
mhm.
one-to-one connection. Intra is relationship to self, so that's
Mhm.
relationship with nobody but you. And transpersonal, of course the linguistics major has to like bring in the meaning of things. Transpersonal, when you think of that, it's like it's between, it's change oriented, it's change coded, it's chaos coded. So there is a sort of hearing this, it's sort of like a layer of understanding that Gen Zers get to opt into, which is that change is inevitable. We are all changing. We are all changing ourselves. We are all changing each other. We are changing our
Yeah.
emotional and social landscapes. We're changing our spiritual relationships with our ancestors and our gods. We there's change is inherent to the relationship we have to our bodies, to our world, to each other. So Gen Z gets to have that flavor of otherness, which can feel really alienating and isolating to some degree, because, you know, as we have this astrological perspective on that alien nature, we also have what happened in the reality of folks who grew up as a Gen Zer, which is they grew up with the internet and
Mm-hmm.
building relationships through the internet, sometimes parasocially. Then it wasn't necessarily quarantine that made them have social anxiety. I think that social anxiety already existed, and that social awkwardness that Gen Zers tend to feel um, was just exacerbated by not getting to have a few extra formative years, really getting to figure out how to connect with people. And so Gen Z not only has this astrological view on being alien and isolated and feeling kind of awkward here in and on this planet, as well as extremely anxious because they were born into climate change and financial instability and the pressures of social media and being present, not present. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z has the astrological view on their isolation and the mirroring in reality of like the way that you connect with people, the way that you date with all of the dating app. We didn't have dating apps, when
Right?
I
No,
started
not coming
dating.
of age. Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't a thing. People weren't out here on the internet. I mean, Plenty of Fish is a very old website, but it was like older folks who were using it. It wasn't like people in their 20s. It was sort of like a if you have no other options left kind of scenario. And now it's like that is the first option that people think of because there are so many dating sites. So there's this mirroring in reality that Gen Z's experienced, which is the world can be shifting and chaotic and a dumpster fire, and for that reason very isolating, but also very connective, and like kind of show me even stronger reasons why I need to embrace change. I need to embrace chaos. I
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to embrace that other people outside of me can help anchor me in my experience. And even though my experience feels kind of crazy to like admit to other people or share with other people, I kind of do have to share it. Going back to our Pisces moon coming up, I do have to share it, or else I'm going to continue to feel isolated. I'm going to continue to feel like a little alien on this earth.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not for nothing either. I hope if you're a Gen Z or listening to this, this is affirming that like you're full of in transpersonal outer planets, and then your planet of dreaming, Neptune, is in Aquarius, a antisocial sign, like for the just like in shorthand, astrological shorthand, like Aquarius don't need nobody. And Uranus too, your disruptor, your change maker. What did you learn because of the extreme isolation that was forced upon you during quarantine? And I know for Gen Z, that caused a lot of people to miss like milestones, sweet 16s and graduations and first years of college, and just like these big moments that for our generations and back have been rites of passage in a culture where we don't really have rites of passage for our collective. You have them in like subsets of culture and in different religious traditions, but your freshman year, your graduation, your senior year of high school, these are like the big moments that a lot of y'all Gen Zers missed out on. And of course, that's going to shape some of that social anxiety and some of the social norms, but it's also just the Aquarius stuff that your soul signed up for coming to fruition. Eek, ouch, sorry, love you. And since 80% of you believe in astrology, just, stay with us.
And the fun thing about it is, like you said, with the research that you did on Gen Z and astrology, yeah, what came up is a lot of Gen Zers are using astrology to connect with others, which kind of
Mm,
feels like, the alien Aquarius generation using an alternate language or an alternate code to be able to speak to each other. Because if there's
yeah.
that social anxiety and social weirdness in making friends, in being a part of any of the rites of passage that you feel late to, you get to show up and say, hey, what's your moon sign? And really find out uh,
Yeah.
pretty quickly who your people are, who can speak the same language and are like on the same level and same vibe. But also, then you get to do what Gen Zers love to do, which is go deep quickly. You get to,
Yeah.
get to a different level of intimacy than other generations have been socially, emotionally, spiritually available for, and get to be having the conversations that most of us didn't when we were your age, when we had that opportunity. At your age, we were talking about the white supremacy inherent in a lot of the things that we were doing. Anti-racism is a concept that, if as a millennial I hear it, I'm like, oh, you have been doing some extracurricular research. You've been doing some extra credit. But for
Yes.
Gen Zers, it feels like it's sort of second nature at this point to just be on the lookout for these certain things. And I think astrology is one of those shortcuts. Astrology is one of those,
Yeah.
where you can just say, this is how I see the world, and other people are like, oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I see the same thing.
Yeah. And really, not for nothing, like so much credit to grow up with all of that really kind of heavy stuff on one's plate and access to global events, global news from the time that you could use an iPod in your frickin' stroller. Like, what? And, speaking to the diversity and anti racism, magic movements that Gen Z has spearheaded in a lot of ways, I found another statistic that says 90% of Gen Zers believe in and support Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, and love to see that. And also the 10% on
Dang.
the other side, I'm like, that trad wife movement, which I know the millennials started, but some Gen Zers are taking that on too. And if you don't know about trad wife, it's basically a snapback that happens when a culture is in times of economic hardship, where people return to a lot of fundamentalist religious values, like the husband is the breadwinner, and also heterosexuality, often religion, kind of this like pioneer woman vibe, cottage core aesthetic, farm life, but like not in a radical way.
I was gonna say pioneer is giving way too much
I
credit,
know.
and
Neo.
no, no.
Yeah. Neo American pioneer, Neo Oregon Trail.
It's the same family values shtick that we see happening over and over every time the white male dominated status quo gets disrupted even the littlest bit. So
Yeah, it's the thrashings of a dying patriarchy, really. And so to
thank goodness.
see the statistics that it's just 10, that's just 10% of Gen Z. It's very refreshing and lovely to see. And, and I think this is also a direct result of Gen Z being one of the most culturally diverse generations. It's actually the most culturally diverse generation ever. How beautiful. And there are almost as many Gen Zers as there are boomers. And like, I did not realize that because it seems to me like my millennial crew did not have a lot of babies. Like, mine didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, the generation before us and some elder millennials apparently have been quite busy because there's a lot of Gen Zers.
Yeah, I tend to think that with the generations, succeeding each other, that we get a little better every time, and we get a little closer to understanding each other, especially with like the different ages of parentage for each generation as well.
Right.
They're kind of like the anchor points to understanding us from the outside world. And yeah, I think Gen Z has something pretty unique in like a more widespread parentage from multiple generations because, yeah, the boomer generation, I learned as I was doing research for this, the boomer generation was the first, and millennials was kind of like the second boomers because boomers were having, the same number of children as were in their own families, and they ended up, having a lot of kids, which I think lends itself to an understanding with Gen Z and even Gen X, the generation between boomer and millennial, of like, do we really need do we really need to do this? Do we really need to
Yeah.
take part in this? Um, yeah, and I think another beautiful thing about Gen Z is the capacity for empathy and the capacity for um, really taking on all of these different nuances and taking on the empathy and the compassion that's required with being so culturally diverse because, I don't know where you got the statistics from or what poll uh, got into like the cultural diversity of Gen Z, but a lot of, for several generations, we've seen in folks who will self what is it called self-report, as in like say whether you are white or Hispanic or whatever. For people self-reporting, it has been skewed toward whiteness for several generations. And I think Gen Z might be one of the first generations that's like, no, I am this. I
Yeah.
I am not white. I am Hispanic. I am not white. I am this, like giving more credit to the cultural diversity that already exists, that has been existing than previously. But also, I think it's just a sign that uh, it's a symptom of interracial interracial marriage and interracial relationships also having created more mixed families. That means we're all not like, in the mixing pot or whatever kind of soup or salad that they were trying to tell us that we are in elementary school when they were talking about how the United States of America is one big melting pot, and then they told us it's a salad because they're separate pieces and we're all not, you know, just
Mm-hmm.
one liquid. We are multiple parts, but we come together. I think there's something else. I think there's like an evolution to that metaphor that helps us describe Gen Z in the level of cultural diversity, but also in the level of empathy and compassion that they show each other and that they show everyone as fellow humans. Because
Yeah.
I think too, it's like easy for generations to kind of shit on each other in either direction. And I don't know that we get. I mean, I know that millennials get a little bit of shit from Gen Z, but not the same as boomers. And I feel like there's sort of a camaraderie here that Gen Z has been able to find with many generations, which makes them the most, transpersonal that we've seen
Yeah.
in many ways.
I mean, there better be camaraderie if you're bringing back our Y2K styles. I'm just saying, if you're bringing back low rise jeans, let's at least be friends because, damn.
If we're
Sick.
bringing back
Sick.
low-rise jeans, let's all drink the Kool-Aid and just go, because
Right.
low-rise jeans are not worth it, you guys. Let's just
It's
let's just
not. No.
let's just pause for a second and do a little PSA. Public service announcement: low-rise jeans, not
Mm-mm.
worth it.
If it's
You,
cutting into your coochie, don't do it, honey.
if it's making your labia fall asleep because it's so tight that that your ass falls asleep, or your labia falls asleep from these tight pants that you got to try to like keep up as high as you can because there ain't much material going on. You don't even get to have a bush anymore. Your crack is showing, your bush is showing. Let's please not. Let's not. Okay, because the other thing that happens when PSA part 2, the other thing that happens when low rise jeans are in play is that we go back to infantilizing girls and women with completely hairless uh, looks and
Yeah.
complete hairlessness as a fashion statement. And we don't need to go back there either. Like we've gotten past it, you guys. Women can have hair. Women are born with hair. People who have uteruses are born with hair on their bodies. It's natural, it's normal, and we should have it. And please
Mm-hmm.
stop with the low rise jeans. Okay.
All right, amen. The whale tails can
Amen.
stay. Honestly, I'm not mad about it. And now there's rhinestones, and it's just one more place to wear rhinestones.
The whale tails? Oh, the
The
thongs?
thong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I forgot about that.
I'm
I
not
didn't
mad about
forget
it
about
at
it
all.
because as I was thinking about the low rise jeans, I was like, what happens with low rise jeans? Ass cracks, low
Yeah.
V's, you get to see V's again, and then thongs. And I remembered thongs, and I forgot that we had
Let
whale
me
tail as
see that
Cisco
thong.
break.
And he goes into
Baby.
like a full on church choir singing about thongs, and we love it.
About
Y2K.
about
That's
whale tails.
we were there the first time. We thought the world would end. And like I'm seeing that coming through in the Y2K fashion too. Like really guys, millennials were having sleepovers and like with their families gathered around Fox News like will we have a blackout at midnight on Y2K? Will everything just shut off? Will all the money be gone from the bank accounts of our parents? Like what will happen? And I can see why that like futuristic dystopian like blackout everything's going to fall apart tower card moment is kind of a hot trend right now because we are seeing it fall. It is happening now, and it would be nice to romanticize it a little and at least bring back some sustainable fashions from the first time we thought it was going to fall.
Yeah, it's really interesting that all of the world is ending moments happened as Gen Z was being born, because we had
Mm-hmm.
Y2K, in the year 2000. We had 2008, which was, the financial crisis. And then 2012, at the end of our Gen Z subsect, we had the Mayan calendar
Oh
ending,
yeah.
and us going, oh my gosh, the Mayans didn't complete their calendar past the year 2012. There must be something to it. And maybe it was an archivist who never, finished their homework up to 2050. But we had all of these moments where we were like, oh, the world's going to end in 2000, and it didn't. The world's ending because of the financial crisis. It didn't. The world's ending because of the Mayan calendar in 2012. It didn't. So we've had all of these false starts as Gen Z was coming into the world and was introducing to us the sensation of, hey, the world is ending. Like, hey, we're the world enders. Get ready for us. We're ready for change. We're ready for chaos. We're bringing the chaos.
And there's the Aquarius, like full on conflict theorists. I had a doctor of sociology tell me once, I'm a chaos theorist. I'm like, what should we do with everything? Blow it up. Start over. Start from scratch. Like, okay, fine. Yes, and I do see that Sag Capricorn, like, okay, but like, let's build something coming back in to kind of temper some of Aquarius's more
burn it to the ground tendencies.
Yeah, exactly. The fiery rebelliousness. And that's Aquarius in their low vibe. It's just like, I'm a rebel for kicks. I'm a rebel just because, and I'm going to fuck up all the shit. And it's high vibe. It's Prometheus. Using the fire of the gods, using technology, innovation, change, and chaos to bring power to the people. So there are ways to play with chaos, friends.
There are ways to play for sure. And it doesn't always have to be that Elmo in front of a wall of fire meme. It doesn't have to always be that. But, if that's your vibe, if that's the vibe that you're going for, Gen Z is the right place and are the right people to surround yourself with to get that sort of like, the world is on fire and hey, actually I lit the match kind of vibe.
Exactly. We can start a fire.
We can start a fire.
It's very musical today, friends. Enjoy. Interestingly, so like today, we have Neptune in Aries. So that means that Gen Zers went through Neptune in Aquarius, Neptune in Pisces, Neptune in Aries, where we are now. So the dream of that chaotic innovation and shifting then it moved into dreamy Pisces. Neptune in Pisces, happy place. It's a happy place for Pisces, but it's like dream state only. We're just scheming, dreaming, wishing, hoping. There's nostalgia that comes in here, which I do think is some of the like aesthetic replaying that we're happening, like Pisces nostalgia. But now we're in Aries as our Gen Zers are going into their Saturn returns. It's like the doing time. Hot. I really love that. It's exciting for all of us.
Coming in hot with these dreams. Yeah. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Super playful. I'm seeing too, like, because of Neptune in Pisces, although Pisces likes to be there, it's also like hella dissociative time.
I was gonna say it's kind of a time of nostalgia, but also for what purpose? Like for the purpose of
Yeah.
saying, oh wow, this thing was really great, or for the purpose of saying, I need to detach from my own reality and not be living it
Yes.
anymore, versus detaching from the systems in play that in the past have not worked for us. I mean, Neptune in Pisces is great for getting back to certain dreams
Mm-hmm.
that like our ancestors, you know, like left for us to pick up and we just haven't picked up. Like it's the time to return to those and go, ooh, I'm gonna go and, you know, like carry this torch and light it as we move through Aries, and you know, see that in action and use the torch to go and light other things. But like now is the time to get or you know, Neptune in Pisces was the time to get into, you know, all of that resourcing, like you said, of
Mm-hmm.
our cultural heritage and the good parts of communing. So now
Yeah.
that it's in Aries, the dream changes, the dream evolves again.
Yeah. And the dream is more about doing the dream now than it was when it was in Pisces. And I'm seeing like the mental health awareness part kind of spirals back in here because um, while we were in lockdown during a pandemic, and we have a generation, Gen Z, of people who are digital natives who are like, okay, fine, I'm going to like use my technology to do what I need with it. It also came with like, I'm going to use technology to get the emotional and relational connection that I'm missing now in my day to day life. That also came with an oversaturation of electromagnetic frequencies, EMFs, and social media addiction and all of the mental health stuff connected to being in front of a screen way too damn much. And as we're talking about this dissociation in Pisces, like this is important. This is really important. And Gen Z is really one of the first generations to come forward and say, like, some of this is making us sick. I'm getting a flip phone.
Right. I hate my phone. I hate my phone. I'm
Yeah.
tired of it. I'm, you
Yeah.
know, I'm transitioning back to the life that we were supposed to live, which is not with all of this shit, not with all of this information flooding us, which is hard for a generation that, you know, half of y'all love sourcing information and love collecting information. So it is
Mm-hmm.
sort of a renegotiation of your own, again, like persona, your own values, your own character qualities. Like, am I going to allow this digital advantage to define me, or am I going to take advantage of it and not let it take advantage of me?
Right. Yeah. Use technology. Don't let it use you.
Right. Because
Big
it's
stuff.
not, when it's using you, it's not healthy. It's always abusive.
Exactly. That's something else. Like when you said that Gen Z is all about conspiracy theory, but like the real ones,
The real
Gen Z
ones.
Gen Z
Yes.
understands that there is fake news. They can tell if it's AI generated. They understand that our government is really not out to help us that much. They understand that our companies will fucking sell our data the second it makes sense for them.
Right.
They understand that Instagram and TikTok and all of this stuff is programmed to make us addicted to it. They know that cognitively. And yet there's still a difficulty with sobriety for some, like all of us, all generations, of course. It's just that Gen Z has the awareness to know social media is bad for my mental health when I'm in it so deep. And yet I can't put it down. I know all these companies are trying to fuck with me, and yet
It's
I'm
that
in the
and
sauce.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said that about the substances because I thought
Mm-hmm.
the same thing um as far as
Alcohol.
Gen Z being kind of the same, like linked with millennials and like using and abusing substances because of the deeper that we've gone and the more that we've seen, being something that we have to also like catalyze with a softening of that blow, like a softening of understanding now that our systems are built against us and not for us. So
Yeah.
there's the red pill, blue pill. There's the red pilling that, has happened as a cultural and a social phenomenon. But also something that I don't have a whole lot of, I haven't verified for myself
Mm-hmm.
is in the Dark Star Astrology page where I was like looking at all of these generations. It was also saying that Gen Z youth had lower teen pregnancy rates, less substance abuse, and higher on-time school graduation rates compared with millennials. Researchers
Hmm.
compared teens from 2008 and 2014 and found I graduated in 2009, by the way, just for a reference point. Um, uh, Compared teens from 2008 and 2014 and found a 40% drop in teen pregnancy, 38% drop in drug and alcohol abuse, and 28% drop in the percentage of teens who did not graduate on time from high school. So
Wow.
it does also seem I get the sense that Gen Z is more we as millennials might think that Gen Z is maybe struggles with substance abuse in the same way that we do. um, but I feel like Gen Z is more flippant about it and has always
Mm-hmm.
been like, drugs are there, you can take them or you cannot. You can have maybe they'll be a good time, maybe they won't. There's no like dishonesty toward themselves, toward, the self about what the substances will do and are able to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gen Z has more clarity around substance use and their own intentions toward it and their own intentions by continuing to partake if they do. Like I've seen
Yeah.
a resurgence in the sort of what is it called when you're sober from all three, when you don't do drugs, alcohol, or sex? Straight edge.
Straight edge.
There we go. I feel like I've
This was
seen,
the
yeah,
thing.
the 3X movement. I feel like I've seen almost a little bit of a resurgence of the
Mm-hmm.
straight edge movement, if that's what you call it, uh, in the Gen Z era as well, because there's this intention for purity almost, and I can see how with like Pluto in Sag and Capricorn,
Yes.
there is a desire there to not like muddy the waters or not to do research in a field that doesn't pertain to the thing. Like Gen Z has gotten much better at really seeing things for what they are and treating them that way. So Gen Z, whether you give yourself credit for that or not, and it might just
Mm-hmm.
be like a very intuitive thing, like y'all just have the gut sense for it, like your internal compass is pointed toward truth and pointed toward veracity and verifying things. I think Gen Z is on a slightly different footing with substances and
Yeah.
having that centaurian connection too with like medicine and health. I think y'all are much more uh, self-aware when it comes to taking care of your bodies and the things that are going in them, which is also like okay, are you aware of what's going on with your body and what's going into your body because of your astrology, or because you were born in a climate crisis and that's all you freaking hear about all the goddamn time? So you hear about like microplastics and you're becoming more, it's both. It's
Yeah,
both.
totally. It is both. And it's almost like astrology informs what's happening now just as much as what's happening now informs astrology. Like we're on a infinity loop continuum of feedback in what's happening in our world. And I love that you mentioned the sobriety because that came through for me too. Like it wasn't until Gen Z came of drinking age, really, that we started to see on every restaurant menu $14 mocktails, which,
Mocktails.
like, it's insane to also charge the same amount of money for a mocktail. But, anyways, besides the point, it's great for those of us that are sober curious, Portland sober, etc., to have all of these options. And I know I love it. I love to go out in my college town and see so many people that are like, oh, yeah, I don't drink, like youngins. When my college experience was about like, how much can you drink?
How much can you
It's,
drink? Yeah.
yeah. And I will say, too, the availability and access of marijuana, cannabis,
The
it's
legalization.
more than it ever
Yes.
was. And I'll say I've seen mixed things with Gen Z, but what I am really seeing is the binky bitches, okay? So many vapes. The vapes. Y'all sucking on the teat. I see it. And
Sucking on the nicotine teat.
I know I know it's an anxiety thing, and I also just have to mention that nicotine makes anxiety worse, and that is interesting to me. There's something there, and I don't know how it relates with all of the astrology. I always think of Pisces and Scorpio when I think of addiction. There's
Mm.
Pisces is present.
Pisces is present, and uh, yeah, every generation has their coping mechanisms. I think
Oh
ours
yeah.
is definitely weed. Boomers, it's alcohol, and Gen Z, it's the vapes. It's
Mm-hmm.
something to take a drag off of so that you can get to the next adult thing that you have to do.
Get
Um,
through the drag.
drag your ass through the drag your own ass through it. But yeah, we're in a different place now with how substances are used because of the initiation that the world went through as Gen Zers were being born as well.
Mm-hmm.
As in that sort of like 96 to 2012 portal, there also have been a couple of different drugs that have come on the market. It started to be that prescription drugs were being used more. I think that's maybe Gen X's thing, is prescription drugs and Adderall and things like that. Um, so we've seen different waves as they've come through, come on the market, and again, it's sort of that like resourcing of
Mm-hmm.
medicine. Okay, if we get back to like the Sagittarius story, it's sort of like trying to find the best medicines possible during that time. And now that Gen Zers are adults, they're getting to see for themselves that the medicines that were created by the systems that are conquerors, which is the narrative that we're trying to get away from, um, are not what we want to be taking. We don't
Yeah.
want it.
It's
We don't
just
want your
math.
Yeah, we don't want your drugs. We want the earth's drugs. So I think too that's why,
Yeah.
we've gotten back into more cultural and heritage um, connections with things like ayahuasca and what is the other one that I'm thinking of? There's grandmother is ayahuasca, and then grandfather
Peyote.
is peyote. Thank you. I was
Yeah.
thinking of
Yeah.
sapote.
Yeah. Even
Peyote.
cannabis and even nicotine and
Or
even
tobacco. Yeah.
mushrooms. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the right, tobacco. These are all substances that were used in indigenous cultures that then we're using as plant medicine wisely as they were intended. Not always, but I'm I love that you're tuning in to what happened after the therapy generation, the millennials became the Gen Zers, who are like the diagnosis generation,
Mm.
where a lot of millennials were going to therapy for like the first round of their families, the first one to
First generation
do
in their
some
family. Yes.
first generation mental health.
First
Eek.
gen therapy goers.
Right.
Eek.
And so then we've got second gen therapy goers in Gen Z, and it does seem like there's a lot of diagnoses flying around, and there's a lot of identification with diagnoses, and there's a lot of prescriptions being thrown around within Gen Z. And I've like seen documentaries about this where teenage girls are like, "What are you on? What are you on?" Like all their friends are on something. Everyone has a diagnosis. It's actually the book I stopped reading, Bad Therapy. There's a lot of statistics in there about this. Like, do I agree with the premise? No. But I do think that Gen Z is dealing with the consequences. Okay, bye. Of of systems that are making us all feel fucking mentally ill, or actually pushing people into mental illness. But it's because of the systems. It's not like inherently something is wrong with us or you, Gen Z. It's just like you can't cope. I can't cope in this system anymore. And it doesn't mean that you need to change. Maybe you're just not made to sit in front of a screen all day under fluorescent lighting and work 9 to 5 for 40 hours a motherfucking week.
Right. Maybe the environment in which you consume the drugs, sort of necessitates some level of dissociation, some level of detachment.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting that we're doing the Gen Z episode right now because I personally, sidebar, am in my own sort of cycle of substance abuse, I think, because I'm smoking cannabis now more than I have in a very long time. I'm about to go through a major transition. I'm about to move. Um, and I also can sense that there is like a major business transition and a major sort of cultural transition that's happening right now. And I tend to like process through things, spiritual events through my body a little early. So I'm like, I wonder if I'm just like starting to move through a portal that we're all about to get through. And it might just be the Uranus and Aries portal and transition,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, we're going from that dissociative place into that we're maybe not like seeing things come into fruition, but we are out there hoeing them fields, planting the seeds,
Shucking them oysters.
sowing our wild oats.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm noting too, we're coming up on an eclipse portal again. And it's part of like a 3-year eclipse portal cycle. So, there are big things shifting. And something my partner and I talk about pretty often, and like, listen, we are cannabis users, is that there is a healthy dissociation. Like, it's there in our bodies. The urge to do that is there for a reason, because when you experience something traumatic what do you need to do? You need to pull back away from all the outside world and go inside, intra personal.
Mm-hmm.
Get selfish, use that Aries energy and like be with what just happened so that you can process that. And there's nothing wrong with healthy dissociation. It's when we're picking up our cigarette of choice and saying, I am choosing to escape my reality right now instead of doing anything to change it. And I
Yeah.
know that this is going to just proliferate the cycle, but I'm going to do it anyways. Like, that's a conscious dissociation.
And this is where I live now, right? Yeah, there's definitely a difference
Yeah,
between staying in the interpersonal and staying and living in the intrapersonal, which
totally.
makes Gen Z very unique in that they're meant to live in that in between, and that like, I think that's also why we've seen a real a rise in the conversation, the spiritual conversation around shadow work, because you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to drop in and do the intrapersonal. You're supposed to go and pay attention to yourselves, all the versions of you that you have created over the years, to protect yourself, to perform a version of yourself that you wanted other people to see, to perform a version of yourself that you wanted to see out in the world, and then bring them all together and help them become one solid person, help yourself become a very authenticated version and genuine version, because you've gone to each version of yourself and asked, are you true? Are you real to me? Are you the realest thing to me right now that I can anchor into? And then go out and communicate with other people and become better at communicating and disrupting narcissism and disrupting passive aggression and disrupting all of these other, facets of the pop psychology world that we've also been seeing. As we've seen the rise in shadow work, we've also seen the rise in talking about narcissism and codependency. So Gen Z
Mm-hmm.
has grown up with all of this language to be that we didn't have, that
Yeah,
millennials did not have. Like, while
we
we
learned that.
started going to therapy when we left our parents because it was a choice we were then able to make, we were late bloomers. We're the quintessential late bloomers, and that we got everything later than we actually needed it to show up in our lives. And Gen Z
Damn.
has gotten to have every single one of those playbooks as soon as they needed it. Do you need to know about this emotional intelligence aspect because you're going through your preteen and your teenage years? Here you go. Here you have it. Now you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, and I can't help but wonder if Gen Z has some of the symptoms of being early bloomers, where like we're giving them so much technology, so young, so much information, so much therapy speak, so much everything
That's a
that
great
it's
point.
like, yeah, you got to know all of this and you have to know all of it now. And for a developing brain, that's not fair.
Right. Where we're adultifying children
Yeah.
way earlier than they need to experience the responsibility placed on them by their communities and their families and the systems at large. Y'all have had to be, Gen Zers have had to be
Mm-hmm.
way more aware of these things and navigate them with even more finesse than any generation before them, because it's every generation, that's speaking to the ones that came before, wants to be taken seriously,
Of course.
wants to be respected at the very least. And so,
Yeah.
for Gen Z to be able to do that, y'all have had to like really move at a fast clip, and
Mm.
that's a difficult thing to do. In my mind, as a Pluto, Scorpio, cap But for somebody with Sagittarius and Aquarius, I mean, put some fire and air together, mix it up, and you've got a combustion, man. That's y'all have
Exactly.
had to explode in a lot of ways, move faster than the rest of us, and uh, the innovation that we've seen happen through the portals of Gen Z, being birthed and then coming of age, and now are as they are becoming into adulthood. Um, we've just seen so many different like radicalizations happen
Mm-hmm.
throughout each of y'all's pillars, which makes me, again, I say, we don't want to lay the responsibility for changing everything on any one generation's shoulders, but if any generation already has done that, it's Gen Z
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Thank you.
and keeps
If
doing it.
that, right. If that like resonates with any of our listeners that are Gen Zers, I definitely want to know about it. This is our informal polling that if you feel like you have been early bloomers, early adopters, leave us a little comment if it slaps. If it slaps. Dang. Is there anything else that must be said to our beautiful Gen Z generation, especially as we have some of them already starting their Saturn returns, right? Because Gen Zers right now, if you're between 13 and 28, you're part of that generation. Saturn return happens between 27 and 31. So some of y'all are already in the thicky.
Yeah, some of y'all are already like stepping into those tumultuous waters of the Saturn return. I think for me, uh, I would want it if you're someone from the Gen Z generation listening to this. I would want to pass along the understanding that you don't have to be the one all the time, and you don't have to be honest with every single person about everything all the time. You get to protect your truth
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily be that person who is teaching others all the time. I think that's a Gen Z thing that I see as well, because y'all, again, are such early bloomers and you've come so far so quickly that it feels like it feels like the accumulation of 50 years of wisdom, and it's not necessarily 50 years of wisdom, it's 50 years of like experience and like just slugging it through life that you have, and that doesn't always equate to knowing how things are going to turn out. So like don't
Yeah.
don't bet on any one thing. Leave your mind open. Make your boundaries firm against people who won't listen to you and don't and historically wouldn't listen to you, and continue to build upon all of the seeds that you've already been sowing. I mean, uh, uh, I don't know that I have anything else to share on like the patterns that we've seen through Gen Z history. But yeah, I would love to see in the comments if y'all feel like that resonates, the early bloomer, and if there's anything else from the time that y'all were being born that from history, like this is like 9/11. Y'all were born after 9/11 happened, so that's not even a piece of, if you live in the United States, that's not even like a piece of shared cultural history that you're able to track back to. But,
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that you aren't living in the radical consequences of all of these, you know, of 9/11 and 2008 and all of these things that have accumulated and cumulatively built up to a world that you might start to be taking on and start to feel like you are responsible for. So would love to just hear if there's anything else that you feel like has affected the growth of your generation and the, you know, the essence of your generation. And I think that's it for me. I mean, I feel pretty complete
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, I'll just note that with those Aquarius placements that many of you have in Gen Z, that like you're really made for change and innovation. So as you go through all of these wild cultural shifts and spearhead a lot of them, and like are the example of the shifts that you want to see happen, just know that you can innovate. This is where innovation is so ripe. And especially through a Saturn return when things shift really fast. And if you haven't listened to our Saturn return episode, I dare you to go listen to it, and you'll be blown by how much Kellyanne and I both went through in a very short period of time.
Very short.
So yeah, you're going to go through this wild portal where it feels like your growth is happening so fast, and it might even feel like the wheels are coming off the bus. But know that you're built for this. You are so built for this, and keep your ethics and ideals strong through it. That Aquarius part of you that can hold the cards to the chest and be like, I don't need to tell you my next move. I'm actually going to protect my next move because I see you wanting to thwart it. Remember your integrity there too. It's, we don't have to show everything to the world all the time. That's such a great point. Thank you for saying that. It's the Aquarius tarot card, the little guy, the Seven of Swords, stealing from the enemy's camp. Robin Hood energy.
Yeah.
Like, y'all got that. You're disrupting it just by existing.
Yeah. You honestly just move through your Saturn return with such grace and humility and supporting each other. Like find your group, find your soul pod, all the other dolphins that you're meant to be swimming with at this time in your life, because you will need a soul pod as you go through your Saturn return. Or you might just meet them because that's what you're going, because your astrology is like, it's time for you to meet these people so that you can learn what you really want out of life. But yeah, continue to give yourself grace, because you don't have to go out there and actively change the world to such like a large degree or at the expense of your own needs and desires. You just go through your Saturn return, and all of Gen Z going through their Saturn return together is going to change the world again. Is going to change
Again.
the social status quo again. Y'all don't have to do anything intentionally systemically. You can do things intentionally, communally, transpersonally, and that is going to create the change that you want to see in the world.
Beautiful. Your becoming is all that we need. Thank you. Thanks for becoming.
Yeah, we love to see it.
Beautiful. All right, y'all, that's Gen Z. If you have questions, or there's more that you want to say, or there's something that we got so wrong, tell us in the comments. Go ahead. I'm not scared.
Yeah, tell us. I mean, this is one of those where y'all's history is very short, whereas, our history is a little longer. Boomer history is quite long. So it's easier to it's easier to sort of map out some of those patterns that we see. So if you know of patterns that we haven't been seeing, or you know, the fact that I'm just remembering now, like, oh yeah, Gen Z is obsessed with morbidity and, you know, like really weird things. And we didn't even bring that into the episode. Like, if you want to bring something in, please do, because if we only nailed a part of it, then y'all can collectively come together around the things that, you know, we missed, and we get to learn as well.
It's beautiful. The aunties are open.
The aunties are open. We love y'all. We appreciate you, and we're so glad that you joined us for this another generational examinational.
Yeah, exactly. Super scientific bitches. So, I guess you kind of already alluded, Kellyanne, to some of the things that you have coming up, like changes in your personal life. Is there anything exciting happening in your business that you want to share?
Um, I'm really just sticking with Free Reading Friday for now on
Oh,
YouTube,
yeah.
because I don't feel like I have much more bandwidth than that, honestly. And I'm not trying to force things. I'm kind of in a season of like riding out where I am personally, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and having this one thing be consistent, and knowing that Free Reading Friday is always going to be there.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, that's such a great lesson for all of us. Like sometimes when your personal life is a shift in, like we can keep the business moving, even with only one spoon.
Even with just the one spoon, you can keep digging. Keep digging!
Yeah. Yeah, and keep going, really. I find that's always my challenge.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm over here making a lot of shifts in my business life and some in my personal life too. I'll also be moving in the next month or so. So just waiting for someone to rent our beautiful home here in Asheville. So if you're interested, shameless plug. But I am continuing with my online community and just starting to shift into what really makes me feel excited and really, really lit up. And that for me is kind of going back in time to my Saturn return and coming back to like embodiment with dress up and drag and play. And I'm ready to get a little more wild and kooky and step away from just the self worky stuff of like tapping and, digging. Because as we know, when you play, we learn faster anyways. So if we have to heal trauma from this life, past life, whatever, like let's do it with a fun hat.
Let's do it with a sparkly glitter gel pen.
Yeah, right? Get ridiculous. It's all drag anyways, so
Ruby
that's
red
kind of
shoes.
right. Yeah, that's where my business shifting is taking me with the intention to just unlock more creativity in myself and in others and make all of this so much more fun for all of us.
More play.
Yeah, yeah. Playa, back to my roots.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in with us. Again, your comments are always welcome, and I'm sending you so much love.
Love y'all. See you next time.
Ciao.